We tripled this e-commerce brand's email revenue, and in this video I'm gonna exactly show you how we took them from 30k per month to 90k per month consistently and, most important, profitably. So let's get right into it. As you can see, this is like a very brief screenshot showing you the chart of everything we've done essentially. So this is where, they've been working with some other agency, and in November this is where we stepped in. And just bear with me because I know that you might say, okay, but November is usually the best for e-commerce brands in general, like throughout the entire year, which is true. But if you look at the other part of the chart, in February we've already beaten the November's revenue, so that it's not the seasonal product. Seasonality of this product is normal, I would say. So for them, Q4 is always the best. But yeah, just after 3 months after the Black Friday, we have already made them more revenue from email than in November, which is quite insane. And in June we crossed 80k in email revenue, as you can see, almost 81k. And yeah, like the title is not clickbait because we took them to actually 94k in the last 30 days. As you can see, this is the most up-to-date screenshot. So obviously they've been scaling and so on and so on. But currently the last 30 days, we made them 94k in email revenue. And this is essentially where we, their previous results, right? So this is like a great comparison because in June 2023, these were the results where, total revenue was down, email revenue wasn't the greatest. It was pretty low. But then once again, we took over and, it's not only that their store grew, so that's why the email revenue grew. Not really. Previously, they were doing 24% of email revenue at way lower scale. And 1 year later, here we are where total revenue almost tripled, but their email revenue more than 4x, which is pretty good, especially if you look at that percentage revenue also went up once again from 24% to 38%, and revenue per recipient went up by quite a lot as well, over 50%, which is very good as well. Same goes for the last 30 days. Right here they've been scaling a little bit harder with the ads, which also you can see in the screenshot right here. That's why email revenue dropped a little bit, but once again it was still way higher than when we took them over. And this 30k from the title, it was like an average, so how much they've been making on average from email, right? And right now we essentially are making like around 70 to 80k per month on average. 90k was our best month. So once again, this brand already had someone manage their email marketing, but they're hitting between 15 to 25% of the data revenue that was coming from Klaviyo, which is alright. I mean, it's not terrible. It's still better than having no email marketing at all. But on the call that I had with this brand, I audited their Klaviyo. I showed them where there are the opportunities that we can take and just implement. And they decided to partner up with us, and we doubled the email revenue in just 1 month and over 3x in the following months. And you can also see it right here, where we took over here, and it's like doubled essentially. So, pretty good. They're obviously happy as well with how everything has gone. But in this video I'm gonna show you the exact strategy breakdown, what we changed, what we improved, and I'm gonna divide it into 3 main sections. So the sign up form, flows, and campaigns, plus deliverability. But deliverability in their case was pretty okay. As for the sign up form, they had already sign up form divided by device, which is great because that's not something that you usually see. But previous agency has done it, which is great. But their triggers were the same for the platform, which is also not ideal because you want to have different triggers. I mean, that's why you separate the sign up form by devices in the first place. And the conversion rate, to be honest, was pretty decent. So it wasn't terrible, it wasn't bad, it was okay. Like as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, their entire strategy was okay. It wasn't spectacular, but they're doing okay. But we still improved it, and as you can see, we've achieved way higher submission rate, where in the last few days it's been upwards of 12%, but we're still looking on average 8.6%, which once again is higher than they had. And then on desktop we went from 5.83% to 7.41%, so quite an improvement. And I mean, this screenshot is just to show you like how we've been testing, improving. We launched an important test right here, as you can probably tell by the graph chart, and in the last few days it's been once again upwards of 12%, which is pretty good. Now the most important thing is that we improved the pop-up sign-up form, sign-up rate, but we didn't change the offer. Right? Because what you might think is like, okay, you're having better results, but what if you're giving 15% instead of 10%? We are not. Previously they were running 10% off. Right now we're running 10% off as well. So the offer is exactly the same. And it's not like our triggers are super late. That's why the submission rate is so much higher, because even if you look at total form views, right here they had more views than we had, but we have over 200 subscribers more with less total views. So that's why, once again, it's being done at scale. And it's not like, we're having higher sign-up rate because the trigger is super late, like 60 seconds page delay, because I've seen being the case. It's not, we're having it like normal settings. It's just better copy, better design, and that's pretty much it, right? Like, we've changed one thing, I mean not one thing, but a bunch of things. But in the last 2 weeks we changed one thing, that's why the spike in the last 2 weeks. But then on mobile we improved their sign-up rate by 15%, on desktop by 27%, by changing two things essentially. Better copy and design. Previously pop-up wasn't really focusing on the offer. They had something like come join us, which isn't like the prime reason why people join to your email list. You shouldn't be leading with that. You should be always leading with the offer. I mean, if you're not running any kind of offer, it's still fine, but you need to remember that the priority for you is you need to think about what's in it for subscribers, for your subscribers or customers. If there is nothing important to them, they just won't sign up, because why would they essentially? And right now we made the offer a priority, so the copy was shorter. It was focused exactly on what I mentioned, which is what's in it for the subscribers. We also added micro yes, which is like one step before we ask them to leave email address. And this is why it worked so well. It always works pretty well. We always split test it, but in their case it has worked out pretty well. Now going on to the flows. Once again, the flows were okay, but they weren't great. There's been a lot of things that we could improve on and do better, starting with some flows that they were missing. So abandoned cart, a lot of brands think that they have abandoned cart flow, where in reality it's abandoned checkout. If you want to see how to set up abandoned cart flow, which you need to do by setting up custom snippet code, you can watch my other video, which is gonna show up on the screen. I'm showing you how to do it very easily in pretty much 8 minutes maximum, and you're gonna make way more revenue, like pretty much double your abandoned checkout revenue. Other flow that we implemented was first purchase anniversary flow, then window shoppers, which is like an optional one, like an extra one we like to implement, and then sunset unengaged to make sure that we're cleaning their list. Now, aside from that, we have set up flows from scratch, and I mean the usual ones, so the welcome flow, abandoned checkout, browse abandonment, side abandonment, post purchase, cross-sell, which was separate from post-purchase because we wanted to be a little bit more aggressive on the post-purchase strategy and cross-sell people faster, and then customer win-back as well. So we went pretty heavy on the post-purchase side. We had the 3 of these flows plus first purchase anniversary, which is the 4th one. But yeah, these flows have done very well, and I mean the total flow recipients pretty much more than doubled within the time period that I'm showing you, which is 6 months. Open rates went up a little bit, click rate as well. The conversion rate went down, but I mean, if you double the recipients, it's quite normal that the conversion rate is gonna be a little bit smaller, and that's mainly because the recipients, like if you more than double, it's quite normal that not everyone is gonna convert at the same rate when you had previously less flows, less recipients, and less emails in the flows, because that was also the case. Our flows are usually pretty long. That's because they work well. And that's my point, like even though the conversion rate percentage-wise was smaller, the revenue itself was 65% higher, right? So that's why we weren't really concerned about the conversion rate, since the total revenue was higher. And most importantly, if you look at the screenshot from the beginning, revenue per recipient was higher as well. That's why, once again, like looking at one metric is not always worth it, because we also got AOV up, which is also another like factor that plays a role in total flows revenue. Obviously you see some spikes here and there, but usually towards the end, if the period is being pretty stable, you might see a small dip here. That's because I'm recording it like mid-July, so there's still like pretty much 2 weeks left to run the flows for this brand, and I'm sure they're gonna end way higher than in June. Now in terms of campaigns, it was another huge factor that we changed to make them more revenue. This brand was previously sending between 4 to 6 campaigns per month, which isn't terrible, but it's not perfect as well. Especially the strategy was based only around discounts and promotions, and that's because they've had like a campaigns limit with the previous agency. So the other agency told them like, hey, we're not gonna send more campaigns than 4 or 6. And that's your like limit. Now I understand it, and like we do it sometimes for smaller clients too, but this brand was already pretty big, they had the budget, so they for sure like could have gone for the unlimited campaigns. I'm not sure why they didn't, and the other agency should have proposed it to them, because the best way to make more money from campaigns is to send more and to send to bigger segments, like essentially. So once we took over, we started sending between 3 to 5 campaigns per week, which is usually the sweet spot for brands this size, doing like 2 to 300k per month. And we also started testing multiple angles and actually rarely sending any discounted promos. So at the beginning it was pretty hard for us to generate a ton of revenue and be super efficient, since the list was used to getting only discounted promotions. But it wasn't an obstacle for us at all, because previously their campaigns averaged around 10k per month. Right now we make around 27 to 28k per month from campaigns. Once again, we're only running discounts. So we almost 3x their previous campaign's revenue without sacrificing the margins, and that's essentially what you always want to do with your brand. Another thing we've done is just expanding the segments. Previously they were sending campaigns only to segments engaged 120, so people engaged in the last 120 days. We started going beyond that, targeting both buyers, non-buyers, and just expanding the engaged segment, since they had great deliverability. That's the one thing that this agency has done well, for sure, is having good deliverability. They've had great open rates before, are above 50%, so the deliverability was really on point, but they weren't like utilizing to the maximum, since the revenue was pretty okay. I mean, it wasn't great, but it was okay, but that for sure helped us just get such great results in a short period of time, because we didn't need to warm up the domain, we didn't need to set up everything from scratch, we just could plug our system and essentially start sending at a decent volume while maintaining the open rates. Actually, if you look at the campaign stats, we sent to more than 217% more recipients than in the previous period, but our open rate was actually higher. I mean, the click rate, you could ignore it, to be fair, mainly because we had a spike here, which was caused by Klaviyo issue with tracking Outmail and Hotmail domains. But yeah, still, we sent to way more people. We had way higher open rates. I mean, okay, not way higher, but we still had higher open rates despite sending to way more people. And our conversion rate didn't drop that much, which is also pretty great, because we sent to 270% more people, but the conversion rate only dropped by 17%, where once again the AOV that we managed to get for this brand was higher than previously, so they still made way more revenue. Once again, we almost 3x'd their campaign's revenue, which is pretty great. And right here you can see some of the top performers. This one was actually like discount-based campaign, alright, so like I need to admit that this one was discount/sales-based campaign, but this one has done pretty much the revenue that they averaged previously. So they're averaging like 10k revenue per month, and this campaign alone has made 9.3k, right, with just one. And the other ones weren't talking about discount at all, pretty much. This one was actually like plain text campaign, just promoting the product and some value and so on, similar to this one. So yeah, these are the kind of results that we managed to get for them. And to sum up, our campaign strategy came down to sending more emails, targeting bigger segments, sending a mix of value-focused and promotional emails, and using both plain text and design-based formats. Now, we are more than certain that we'll hit 100k from email within the next 2 to 3 months. I mean, looking at the current pace, we're probably gonna hit it this month or maybe even next one. And that's because, this brand has crossed already way over 7 figures in yearly revenue. And it's not like, we've only done the good job. I mean, they also are having a great media buying team. They're running great ads, great creatives. The founders are also awesome. So we're not assigning the full success to us, but I'm gonna lie that we played a pretty big role in that, because we managed to get their email revenue way higher than previously. And part of that, around 30 to 35%, is coming directly from email marketing every single month. Now, if you want to be like this brand and see the same spike in revenue that they saw after just 1 month, book a call with me using the link in the description down below. We're gonna have a chat and we're gonna see if we're a good fit for each other, because right now, to be honest, is the best time to take care of your fundamentals, take care of your retention systems before Q4 starts, because then this is where you should have all your systems dialed in. But if you are not there yet, you can watch my other videos where I show you how we made this brand over $1.4 million in just 2 months. Thank you for watching, see you in the next one. Cheers!